this discussion as we go to the SEC meetings in Destin next week. Now, we're going to get into this a couple of different times throughout the show. But the discussion about a 9-game TV schedule, a lot of people were writing stories yesterday about this. Seth Emerson at The Athletic. Ross Dellinger was writing about it yesterday. Brandon Marcello, friend of the show, was writing about it yesterday. 9-game versus 8 games. A lot of balls in the air. All of a sudden, there's a, at least in the public media perception going into this meeting, that maybe the 8-team schedule is growing momentum. Is that what you got from reading this?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of stories out there. I think it did start with Ross Dellinger reporting that Nick Saban has backed off. Saban has been vocal about his support of a 9-game schedule for years, well before even Oklahoma and Texas were a twinkle in the eyes of the Southeastern Conference, right? That he's wanted that 9-game schedule, and he's always pointed out that if a guy plays at an SEC school for 4 years, he should play in every venue and play every team. And the way to do that would be a 9-game schedule. Now it appears from the stories you read from Brandon Marcello, from Seth Emerson, from Ross Dellinger, these people that are connected to the college football world and the SEC, that support for a 9-game schedule is waning for many various reasons. And it really probably doesn't take many votes to fall off, because I don't think it was a landslide in favor of to begin with.
It was almost a 50-50 split, and you were counting on a wink and a nod from Oklahoma and Texas as maybe pushing it over the top. Can I just say first on the Nick Saban thing?
Yeah.
And again, I have never once tried to pretend that I am friends with Nick Saban, right? I am not friends with Nick Saban. I have no direct insight or connection to Nick Saban. I think he is being missed. His belief in playing 9 or 10 SEC games is being misreported or misinterpreted because of his comments about Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU as Alabama's 3 permanent rivals. I don't think you can necessarily take that comment and say that he's against a 9 or 10 game schedule.
Right.
You can be for a 9 and 10 game conference schedule moving from 8 and just say, let's see if we can divide up these permanent teams in a fair and balanced way. You can believe in we need to play 9 or 10, which Nick Saban's always believed in, and still say, well, listen, if we're going to play these 3 and Auburn's got to play us and Georgia, let's make sure we're trying to divide this up equally among everybody. You can believe in 9 and 10 and still say, let's try to balance out those permanents as best we can.
So if there were odds on this in Vegas and you had to go bet, you would bet Saban is still in favor of 9 games?
I would say Nick Saban is still in favor of 9 games,
okay.
Yes. I think this is being a little overplayed because of those comments. Now, do I think Brandon Marcello, Ross Dellinger, and Seth Emerson is a better reporter than Jim Dunaway? 100%.
I would also bet on that at Vegas.
Yeah,
yes.
that's all I'm saying. But I believe in everything I know about Nick Saban. In my small amount of time I've been around him, he believes in the 9 and 10 games. He was saying it, as you said, a long time ago, because he knows that for people to be in the stands, that the SEC needs to be playing SEC teams and not playing the Mercers of the world.
Well, part of this, too, though, is the future scheduling. Some people have read into the fact that a number of teams, Alabama included in them, they've got 4 out-of-conference games scheduled for years beyond when Texas and Oklahoma are coming to the league. Like, I think I read there are 36 games.
38.
38 that would have to be canceled or rescheduled to make room for a 9-game schedule.
Just for 2024.
Yeah, and Alabama is in that group of teams that would do it. There are several teams that have only the 3 games scheduled, which shows that they're holding space, potentially shows they're holding space for a 9-game schedule. So, I mean, it is interesting to look at these things, and if you want to, it's not even really a conspiracy theorist, but if you want to start connecting dots, you could say, well, all right, Alabama hasn't shown that they're leaving room open, but you can always go back and cancel those games.
Right. We will get into this again as we move on. But there's one other thing that's out there that's held up the vote on 8 or 9 games. And we keep saying, everybody, the 9 game looks so smooth, 3 permanents, and you play the other 6 games, and then you rotate those, and the other 6 games every 2 years you play everybody. So I was sitting here thinking to myself, why not 9? Why not 9? Why are we waiting so long to vote on this? Surely we're going to announce it next week. Oh, but wait.
Oh, there's more?
Seth Emerson gets the quote from the Georgia Athletic president, Jerry Moorhead, who says, I'm probably going to say more than Greg Sankey wants me to say here. And any time you start off by saying, I'm probably going to say more than the commissioner wants me to, you know it's about to be something juicy.
Yeah, you don't even have to say probably at that point, right?
And he goes on, and I'm paraphrasing here. He's like, we made this agreement with ABC and ESPN before we even expanded with Oklahoma and Texas, right? So that deal's done, $818 million. So Oklahoma and Texas coming in, they're going to bump that up, he said, to around $926 million, Seth Emerson reports, for Oklahoma and Texas coming in every year. But that's still with an 8-game schedule. So the president of Georgia, and the presidents run the league, right? Greg Sankey works for them, is saying, well, if we're going to go from, you're paying us $811 million a year when we were 14, now we're bringing in Oklahoma and Texas, you're going to bump it up to $926 million, and we're an 8-game schedule. Was surely, if we go up to a 9-game conference schedule, you got to give us more money.
So basically, he's saying the money we agreed on was 8-game a year money.
8 games a year of SEC games.
If you want the loaded,
that's right.
If you want the loaded model, it's going to cost you a little more.
If you want the high octane,
that's right.
9 games.
Yeah, if you want,
with Oklahoma and Texas in the league
if you want
now,
a steering wheel warmer, it's going to cost you a little more. So
we're talking about $1 billion or plus a year. Mm-hmm. Basically, what the Big Ten's getting is what we're getting.
What the Big Ten thought they were getting.
What the Big Ten thought they were getting.
Yes.
It's what the Big Ten thought they were getting without all the pitfalls and all the hidden stuff.
Wouldn't it be funny? Because I don't know if ESPN is going to agree with the president in Georgia. I think my gut is the ESPN is going to say, oh, no, this is a deal for the SEC. If y'all play 7, 8, 9, we don't really care. We just need a game or 2 every week, right?
That's right. That's right.
This is a deal for the SEC. Now, there probably is some fine print that clears this up, I guess. I don't know. He's saying a little more than Greg Sankey wants him to say, so that tells me there may not be the direct fine print. But these lawyers are pretty good that do these things. But wouldn't it be funny if ESPN did have to go back to the table and all of a sudden this $1 billion deal the Big Ten has got some foundational cracks in it.
A little flaky on the edge.
A little flaky on the edge. And then the SEC renegotiates and gets a bigger deal and then it turns out the Big Ten had done all this victory lapping about their better deal, their bigger deal, and then all of a sudden the SEC passes it like ships in the night. That would be kind of funny, actually.
And would be very SEC Big Ten-like, by the way. It's happened a few times over the years where the Big Ten thinks they have the upper hand on, all the country bumpkins from the South. and then here we come back. So we'll talk more about that as we move on. But I just... I was reading that today, and I was like, why are we saying, Seth Emerson and Ross Dellinger, Brandon Marcello, all great people, and they're great reporters. But until Nick Saban comes out and says, I've changed my mind. I want to stick at 8.
Right.
Or unless somebody's got some really good connections there, I would say that, there's nuance to why Nick Saban said what he said about the Alabama permanent 3 teams. And I don't think it necessarily meant I'm against 9 now. If that's going to be our 3, I'm against 9.
Right.
And, it was painted like he was somehow scared to play those 3. I think he was just asking, well, if we're playing these 3, who's everybody else playing? Right? And listen, we can start down the road with Auburn. Nobody's going to have it harder than Auburn. I mean, you can stack up for Alabama any 3 you want. If you've got, in this period of time, Georgia and Alabama as your permanent, nobody's going to have it tougher than Auburn.
It's going to be hard. There's no doubt. Yeah.
So it's got to be another SEC team. I mean, if you're playing Georgia and you're playing Alabama every year, if you're Auburn, I'd be okay if they threw Charlotte or UNC Greensboro or whatever you could throw to Auburn to make it their third permanent conference game. Somebody out of conference playing any SEC team, even if it's Vandy, that's still a tough draw. Where we are in time for Hugh Freeze and them. So no matter how Alabama stacks it with Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU, that's not tougher than playing Georgia and Alabama where we are right now.
Right.
But even on the Auburn side, I'd be like, okay, we got to play Alabama, Georgia. I understand that that's our lot in life. But, how tough is everybody else's going to be? And I think that's what everybody wants to see. SEC meetings next week in Destin. Just fascinating as we're sitting here waiting.
Do you think we'll know coming out of that?
I think in my, again.
I mean, we've already got a president saying more than Greg wants them to say. They're not even to Destin yet.
I would say that they will decide on a 9-game schedule down there. I'll be shocked, but hey, this is a new twist. Right before we go to get our toes in the sand, this is a new twist as we head down there.